The Gospel of Matthew, chapter 25. Now, imagine you've been entrusted with something incredibly valuable, perhaps a key to a vault full of treasure, or the responsibility of caring for a fragile but precious gift. How would you treat it? How would you prepare to ensure nothing goes wrong? Now, think about your life, your time, your abilities, your relationships. These are the treasures you've been entrusted with, and how you choose to manage them impacts not just your own future, but the lives of others around you. Now, in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 25, Jesus uses parables that teach us the importance of readiness, responsibility, and compassion. These lessons are more than just stories. They are calls to action for how we live our lives daily. Let's dive deeper into each parable, drawing out the wisdom and insight that can transform how we approach the opportunities and challenges in our lives. The parable of the 10 virgins. Be ready. The chapter opens with the story of the 10 virgins waiting for the bridegroom to arrive at a wedding feast. They each have lamps, but only 5 of them were wise enough to bring extra oil. When the bridegroom was delayed, the foolish virgins ran out of oil and had to leave to buy more, missing the arrival of the bridegroom and, ultimately, the wedding feast itself. Now, what's the meaning behind this? This parable illustrates the importance of spiritual and practical preparedness. The wise virgins who had oil to spare represent those who maintain their faith and stay vigilant in their relationship with God. They understand that life is unpredictable, and we must be ready for whatever comes, even when things take longer than expected. In contrast, the foolish virgins represent those who neglect their spiritual lives, waiting until the last moment to prepare, and by then, it's too late. Now, how does this apply to us, you may ask? Well, our spiritual journey requires consistent attention. Just as the virgins needed oil to keep their lamps burning, we need to fuel our souls with prayer, reflection, and a strong connection to God. We must be vigilant, ensuring that when opportunities or trials arise, we are not scrambling to prepare, but are readily equipped to meet them. We can't live in a wait-and-see mentality, thinking we'll have time later to get our lives in order. This parable urges us to be prepared always, because we never know when the moment will come that requires us to act. The parable of the talents. Be responsible. The second parable tells of a master who, before going on a long journey, entrusts his servants with talents, which at that time were a form of money. To one servant he gives 5 talents, to the other 2, and to the last 1. Now, the servants who receive 5 and 2 talents invest them wisely, doubling what they had been given. But the servant who received just 1 talent was fearful. He buried it in the ground and did nothing with it. Now when the master returns, he praises the 2 who multiplied their talents, saying, "Well done, good and faithful servants." But to the servant who hid his talent, the master says, "You wicked and lazy servant." The talent was taken from him and given to the one who had 10. Now, what's this teaching us, you may ask? Well, this parable is about stewardship, how we handle what God has entrusted to us. The talents in the story are symbolic of the gifts, abilities, time, and opportunities God gives us each day. Now, notice that the master gives to each servant according to their ability. This means that no matter how much or how little you have been given, you are called to make the most of it. The servant with 5 talents didn't boast about having more than the others. Instead, he focused on using what he had to produce more. The one with just one talent was not judged for having little, but for doing nothing with it. Now, we all have unique talents and opportunities. Some might seem bigger than others, but it's not about the size. It's about what we do with them. You see, fear often holds us back from using our talents, just as the servant feared losing his one talent and chose to bury it. But God calls us to take risks, to step out in faith, and to invest in the world around us. You know, our talents are not meant to be hidden, but multiplied through service, creativity, and courage. When we invest in others and in the kingdom of God, we are investing in eternity. The judgment of the nations, serve with compassion. In the final part of the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 25, Jesus gives a vivid picture of the final judgment, comparing it to a shepherd separating sheep from goats. He says to those on his right, "When I was hungry, you gave me something to eat. When I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. When I was a stranger, you invited me in." The righteous, confused, ask when they ever did these things for him. And Jesus replies, "Whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me." But to those on his left, he says, "I was hungry, and you gave me nothing to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me nothing to drink. Whatever you did not do for one of the least of these, you did not do for me." Now, this powerful scene is a call to compassion. Jesus is telling us that our faith is not just about our words, but about our actions, and specifically, how we treat others, especially the vulnerable and the needy. Now, every act of kindness, no matter how small, has eternal significance. Feeding the hungry, clothing the poor, caring for the sick, these are not optional extras for believers. They are part of the heart of what it means to live out our life in faith. Now, how does this apply to us? Well, often we look for big, grand gestures to make a difference in the world. But Jesus highlights the importance of simple, everyday acts of love. Each time we help someone in need, we are serving Christ himself. The challenge here is to look at the people around us, the struggling neighbor, the lonely friend, the hungry stranger, and to see Christ in them. Compassion is not something we delay until we have time. It's at the core of how we live out faith every day. So the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 25, offers us 3 profound lessons that challenge us to reflect on how we live our lives every day. First, we must be ready, not waiting until the last moment to prepare, but nurturing our relationship with God daily. Second, we must be responsible, using our gifts, talents, and opportunities we have been given, no matter how big or small, to make a positive difference. And finally, we must be compassionate, serving others with love, seeing Christ in the least of these, and knowing that every act of kindness has eternal value. So, as you leave here today, I want you to ask yourself, how can I be more ready for what God has in store for me? Am I using my talents to their fullest potential, or am I burying them out of fear? And how can I show compassion to those around me, even in small ways? The answers to these questions will shape not only your life, but also the world around you. So, let these truths resonate in your heart. Live with readiness, act with responsibility, and love with compassion. These are the keys to a life that truly honors God and blesses others. What step will you take today to multiply the gifts you've been given and serve those in need? Your journey begins now. Thank you. Tomorrow, we'll discuss chapter 26.